2nd in the Derby last July. I was standing at the corner of the street.
Formby Sr. was a star turn of Edwardian music hall, a stand-up comic whose Lancashire twang became famous throughout England. He made jokes about being ill and out of work because for much of his life he'd been both, and he vowed that his son would never be so exposed. Young George, born in Wigan like his father, was only 7 when he was sent away from home to train as a jockey. It seemed a glamorous life, but he hated it, and he was anyway a rotten jockey. In 9 years, he never won a race. George was 17 when his father died, and his grief was softened by the knowledge that his riding days were over. Now, a long-suppressed desire broke to the surface, and he went on stage, reproducing the famous Formby comedy routines. So it was that in 1921, the second George Formby was launched on a largely indifferent world. But 2 years later, he met someone who would change all that. An 18-year-old clock dancer from Accrington called Beryl Ingham, whose sweet exterior concealed a heart of pure granite. George fancied the skinny dancer from the first, but Beryl played hard to get. He courted her for 2 years until one day, quite suddenly, she said yes.
It's the funniest thing I know.
First you get a hug, then you get a squeeze.
And you get a funny feeling round your housemaid's knees. It vexes you.
What vexes you?
Then it stings and it annexes you. It's love that gives to life that's rich. It's love that teaches you the tricks. Said Henry VIII to his big six.
Oh,
isn't love a very funny thing?
This cheap movie, made 12 years after their marriage, and featuring George as the heavy-footed lover, and Beryl, fresh from elocution lessons, as the reluctant schoolmarm, was almost a reconstruction of their own courtship. The partnership that would last 37 years had been launched. As soon as they could afford it, they honeymooned in the sun, 1,000 miles from Wigan.
In a little Wigan garden, where the dandelions grow, with me sweetie frowsy flow, round the mulberry bush we go, underneath the Wigan palm trees, there I bring her up to scratch. We have such a game on the cucumber frame, I show her the cabbage patch. When the morning mildew threatens our shallots, scented breezes coming from the chimney pots in a little Wigan garden, with me little Wiganese, getting stung with bumblebees, between the cabbage and the peas. 'Neath the Wigan water lilies, where the drain pipe overflows, there's my gal and me, she'll sit on my knees and watch how the rhubarb grows.
Beryl took command of George Formby Jr. She was his support on stage as dancer and stooge, but off stage, she ran everything. She put polish into his act, and she steered them both into the money. It was 1930, and as they got richer, their audience got poorer. Even for a comedian whose stock in trade was bumbling innocence, there was no escaping the depression.
I just can't remember the last time I worked. I could flush with repentance and shame. When I think of the years that I've spent on the dole, well, I can't bear the sound of my name. But I'm going to reform and I'm looking around for a job that I think I can do. I'll just work like a horse and have no more remorse. There'll be no need for me to feel blue.